Hey friends, JB back, and we have a big topic today. What is cyber? Right? You've heard about cyber, you've heard about the cybersecurity, you've heard about cyberspace, cyberbullying, cybercrime, cyber this, and cyber that. But you're probably wondering, what is cyber? Interesting thing that happened. I was having an interview with one of the top leading firms of the country, cybersecurity firms of the country. And through the course of a number of interviews, one of my questions, as we went back and forth and they discussed my qualifications and back to them, and their question to me was, do you have any questions, JB? And like, I do. I do have one question. What is cyber as your company defines it? And you would think that companies who are in cybersecurity would have a singular definition of what is cyber, but they don't. But I do. I have it, and I'm about to share it with you. And so, if you've been sort of miffed, you kind of understand that there's a concept of cyber, and you've heard about it. It seems to represent some current state of technology. That's not wrong answers necessarily, but we're going to give you a definition that you can hang your hat on and some explanation about why we have chosen to use this definition. So here we go. Cyber is the integration of information, mobility, and life using digital technology. Now, if you didn't get that, I'll say it one more time. All of you guys who are studying out there, my Christian brothers and sisters, here we go again. Cyber is the integration of information, mobility, and life using digital technology. Okay? So if you are a Christian brother and sister in your church or your ministry or where you work, your place of employment, or even if you're not Christian, that has major impact on your worldview, on who you know God to be, and how we're supposed to utilize the tools and different things He provides to us as a way to fortify His kingdom, pass the word of Jesus Christ, right? That's what it's all about, giving the gospel to other people and letting the Holy Spirit speak into them. But now we have this new paradigm. We've got information, mobility, and life using digital technology. Now let's go a little bit more further. And if you go search anywhere on the internet, you are going to have a lot of hodgepodge answer. They've got uh, cyber prefix, they've got cyberpunk, cyber this, cyber that, and a lot of other words, here, but you're not going to find, I think, as good of a definition anywhere else than the one that I gave you. Reminder: cyber is the integration of information, mobility, and life using digital technology. Integration, right? So, what is digital technology? Well, let's talk about that. At its root, it's ones and zeros. It's representations of data. And if you're not sure why it's ones and zeros, we can talk about that another time. But that's the code. That's called binary code. And other characters can be used, and with different states in quantum computing, there's even a variance from ones and zeros. But let's just keep going. But you'll see the ones and zeros. You brothers and sisters, you will see them as pictures, videos, maps. Might be an online store such as Amazon, or perhaps your payment. This is all digital technology. Bank payments, okay, and their portals on the web. Okay, all this is digital technology. This also means that digital representations must be coupled to a physical device, such as your mobile phone or your wearable, like your Fitbit watch, or your computer or your car. Okay, meaning coupled, meaning that you can have a program, but you need some sort of something like a computer or a mobile device or your smart TV these days to actually allow that representation of ones and zeros to happen. So digital technology means both the program, the code, and something that the code is going to run on. Okay, and you would be surprised the number of things that it actually runs on. In fact, even your DVD player, and to extend your CD player and your VHS, if you remember those things, and other things like that. There's those where they had chips where the programs were basically embedded into the chips, and it's not like an update can happen with those devices, but that was some technology. There's some technology involved there, okay? Meaning the program and the device itself. Now, we are in what's called a cyber age. All right. Now you're like, JB, we just talked about cyber, and that's the integration of information, mobility, and life using digital technology. You've talked about digital technology. You need a program and you need a device for it to execute on. And now you're saying we're in the cyber age. Well, the cyber age is the tipping point, and that's when we move past the key threshold where our society requires the digital technology to survive. Okay, or differently, the society would cease to function because of their dependence on cyber commodities. Really, that means that we have crossed a threshold, a precipice, where we no longer can truly function, possibly no longer even survive. Most of us wouldn't if the cyber world that we live in were to crash. If there was an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, were to shock everything and put everybody in a position where they can no longer access that technology. People do not know how to survive. How would they heat heat things up without electronic stove, their smart stove? People don't know how to use fire barely anymore. They don't, we sort of relegated fire to such a dangerous thing these days, and we don't even know how to be stewards over things like fire that the Lord has given to us so long ago. Now, there's a lot of, there's some rural areas of the United States, other countries, of course, that are still required to use these, what we think of as less primitive forms of technology, fire and hunting and of the like. But in truth, the part of our cyber age has already come into play. The supply chain is such that we require the the digital world to facilitate our transactions and our movements and to support our life. Okay. Cybersecurity describes how we are protecting this fragile digital ecosystem. So we've got cyber age. Let's review. We've got cyber is the integration of information, mobility, and life using digital technology. Digital technology is the program and the device. The cyber age, hey, look, when you can no longer survive without your digital technology, you've passed that tipping point, then you have entered into the cyber age. We are in the cyber age. Now, cybersecurity, simply describes how we're protecting this fragile digital ecosystem, including our dependence upon the cyber supply chain, which supports our way of life. Cyber supply chain. You're like, JB, does this really exist, the cyber supply chain? Absolutely, it exists. And, we've got even, let's see here, where's the cyber supply chain? We've got it, unless we closed it. We might have closed it already. I'm not sure. Yeah, looks like somehow it got closed. But if we put in cyber supply, oh, here it is. Best practices in cyber supply chain risk management. This is the National Institute of Standards, one of the most esteemed standards organizations of the world. If you want to kind of get things in a common way that's going to be able to be repeated over and over and over, well, guess what? Cyber supply chain principles. This is an introductory document that will give you some controls over cyber supply chain risk management. There are more documents besides this. Okay, so this speaks volumes to where we are as far as cyber and the cyber age. Okay, cybersecurity is highly important. Cyber security protects the cyber supply chain. It protects the way we transact and trade commodities. Commodities, of course, just the everyday things that we trade, the not so special, but just the general things. Mobile phones have become commodities, cyber commodities, like an iPhone. But what are some other things that are part of the cyber age? What are some other devices, right? Because the the cyber digital technology really is both the program and the device. So what are some other devices? Well, we've got the iPhone, we mentioned that. What about Twitter? Twitter is a device. Twitter is running on someone's server, and you're rendering it on your computer, mobile phone, or other wearable. Okay, Twitter could be a device. Facebook, all right. Uber is the thing that you get taxis basically to kind of come and pick you up through your mobile phone. They're a little bit different than taxi, not quite the same, but pretty much in principle it's the same concept. What about this? Driverless cars, right? Driverless cars. We have all sorts of digital devices, digital technology, digital payments. Cyber privacy is another thing that we need to think about, um, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So let's go through a few of this. This didn't have much good information, and it did talk about some of the words, but really didn't go so bold as to give a definition such as I did. So let's get rid of that. Now, this is interesting. Why is this important to our Christian brothers and sisters? Because Twitter is controlling the free speech because they've gotten so big that so many people start to use them that it is becoming a source of news. But now Twitter is actually blocking certain people. Conservative commentator here, James Woods, was blocked for posting this. Says pretty scary that there is a distinct possibility this could be real. What is real? This little picture. This little picture, which he's saying that some men are not going to vote because it would give women more, it would weight the women's score a little bit higher. And then he says, not likely, but in this day and age, absolute liberal insanity, it's at least possible. That means that a company who is a private company of sorts, that they're actually censoring things that they don't prefer. So if they prefer a liberal agenda, an anti-Christian agenda, then they can block those people who are Christ-centered and have the Christ-centered worldview. Okay, so this itself, Twitter, is a digital device. What about this? Is the iPhone? We talked about that, and they make these things look so sleek and interesting. You don't even know what the heck it is, but this is the phone now. This is Apple. This is the phone. Got rid of this. Let's get rid of that and get rid of this. Talked about cyber supply chain. Now there's also some tie into some of the weather technology that we're able to see and depend on. Without digital technology in our cyber age, we wouldn't know when these storms are coming across. And you know that we're so dependent upon it at post Katrina, post all the other storms. This is huge for us. We wouldn't feel safe without the digital technology. We are in the cyber age. What about this? Google itself, I'm running this whole web browser is on Google. It's on Google Chrome, and now Google is trying to help steer what privacy is, and they're doing that. Okay, we're seeing it on this web browser, so that's digital technology, of course. All right, we'll talk more about Google. They're a company who's worthy to spend a couple weeks on, and I'm trying to keep these to around 10, 15 minutes. All right, now the Internet of Things. Internet of Things, wearables, okay? You've got your mobile device. You've got smart lights where you can connect your your watch to the light bulbs basically through wireless medium. Okay, you can through your watch you can tell your light in your living room to basically turn off. Or it's the simple remote control for your TV or your smart TV. It's the Internet of Things. Everything is becoming ingrained. That's why they don't have a word for it anymore. So they just say Internet of Things, just Internet of Stuff, and that's digital technology. Program, right? Program and the device is the digital technology. We are in the cyber age. Bitcoin, money itself is now starting to be a digital commodity. So we have companies starting their own coin, and it's a digital representation of money. And if it's all agreed upon, everyone starts to use it, then it makes sense. And it removes a lot of the middleman, meaning the big government and other like the Federal Reserves and other reserve boards who are private companies really sponsoring public public monetary policy. So Bitcoin helps get in the way of that. Is this going to be a good thing? I don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the ramifications are just yet. It sounds like a good idea, but I tell you what, it's still digital technology. We are in the cyber age. Now we've got other things such as social credit score. In China, in China, we have the things that are um, a social credit score, meaning that if you do not adhere to their policies, you are ranked a lower class citizen and are not able to do things like fly around. I can't buy property. My child can't go to private school, he said. You feel you're being controlled all the time. Why? Because he made a comment about the government saying that it is basically, well, he criticized it, and exactly what he said, I'm not sure. But essentially, when you are tagged by your government through digital means and technology, and they have what? They have 6 million cameras by 2020. If you are tagged by your government and your social status is marked and documented, it's an eternal record too. If you can no longer be redeemed as far as the government's concerned, or if you are, you have to prove it based upon works. And this is an anti-Christian worldview that's come to play. Man, my friends, this is important stuff. I'm committed to keep bringing you more information about the cyber age we live in, about cyber in general. This is Cyber Christ and Country channel, and that's what we're doing. We're talking about cyber, we're talking about Christ, and we're talking about how it relates to the world we live in, whether it's United States or China. These are important topics for our Christian community to come to terms with, to understand them at deeper levels, because I think, personally, I feel that we have sort of um, seeded this with the government, with the secular community. I was about to say government, but with the secular community, rather than actually use this as a tool for the glory of God. My friends, we'll talk next time. Take good care.